Hello and welcome back to Nonsense Farm. So it's been a long time since we did a garden tour. It's mid-April 2024, so let's take a look at what's going on in the garden. My goal this year is to have this entire in-ground garden be under production by the end of the summer. That's a lot of space and it's a lot of work, especially since I like to bring in compost and put a layer of compost over an area before I plant it, because here in Texas, this is really clay soil. I think it's decent soil, but it's very clay. So I like to put compost on top of it. I mean, really, in every one of my garden beds, I put a layer of compost. Every time I turn a bed over, I always put compost in it. Compost, compost, compost. It's the best thing. So anyway, here's what I have going on so far in the in-ground garden. I only have 3 rows going on so far. But here I have tomatoes, which it's amazing. The tomatoes actually are doing better over here than they are over in the garden beds, the raised beds, and I'll show you that in a minute. So I have tomatoes, tomatoes, tomatoes. And then what I've been working on this weekend is a very rudimentary and a very Nonsense Farm type of tomato trellis. I'm going to put clips and twine and trellis these tomatoes. They aren't big enough to where they need it yet, but that's what that's going to be. Then you can see the rest of this is nothing. Now on the next row, what we have on this end is that's all yellow squash. See, I planted seeds here. All that grass around there, that's one thing that I don't have to worry about on the raised beds. So it's just a different set of challenges for an in-ground garden. So here we have yellow squash, yellow squash, yellow squash, all the way down here. Then here we have cauliflower. You see lots of pest situation here. This is still a cauliflower. A lot of it didn't make it, as you can see. And then, do you see this lettuce here? I'll show you the lettuce over in the raised beds. I think it's grasshoppers eating this. The new grows from the middle, and the grasshoppers just eat from the outside. I'll show you the ones over in the raised beds. They're doing a lot better. Here we have some broccoli. You can tell they are suffering from pests. I am totally just learning about in-ground gardening. I'm so used to raised bed gardens. This is a real learning curve for me. And then down here we have garlic. So that's good. And then this last row, all the way to the end, eventually it's going to be blackberries. But right now we have these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 blackberry bushes. And then at the end, you can tell at the very end, I've put a silage tarp there. I'm going to have to just silage tarp the rest of those, but I'm going to get the rest of this bed filled in with blackberry bushes. So that's what's going on with this gravel. Over here in the raised bed garden, I do have things growing, but I've been trying so hard to fill that up that there are a lot of beds here that are still empty, and I'm going to explain my plan for that. So here I have planted tomatoes, but those tomato plants have not done well. It's very interesting. I put the same plants in a few of these raised bed gardens, and the plants just died. And then I put the same plants over in the in-ground garden, and they are doing great. So I don't understand, but whatever. It's all a learning curve. Here we have potatoes. I have had not great experiences growing potatoes. It seems like I only ever get as much potatoes out as I planted, which is frustrating. That's kind of not the point, but it is what it is. Here we have more garlic. Always love garlic. Now in this bed, the tomatoes that I put in here have done well. You see there's one here, there's one there. That's a Cosmo flower. But anyway, a few of the tomatoes did well over here. Here we have another bed where I've got some garlic. and a couple tomato plants that managed to survive. One challenge with the tomato plants is, I started from seed, and I didn't do a great job this year of hardening them off before putting them outside. I really should have done better about that. Over here, I planted cucumber seeds around each of these tomato cages, so we'll see how those do. That's also a Cosmo flower. Here I planted tomatoes. As you can see, only one of them has survived. Now, here are the lettuces that I was telling you about. You see how much better those look versus the ones in the in-ground garden? I think in some small way, these raised beds protect the plants from pests a little bit. Over here we have sugar snap peas. I'm very excited for those to make. Last year I was out of town when they were ready, so I didn't get to really feast on them, and by the time I got back they were bitter. And this year, 3 weeks from today, I'm going to Africa, so I may have the same situation. We'll see. This bed has calendula plants right here. This is some new yarrow that I planted this year. That's yarrow from last year coming back. I'm really into medicinal plants this year. Here is tarragon, and I wish that I had never planted that here because it just kind of takes over the world, and I don't really use it for anything. In this bed, I have Kajari melon coming up. You can see the little seed packet over there. Here, I think it's another, let's see, I have a seed packet. Let's look and see. Yeah, it's another melon coming up over here. These are echinacea flowers. They're planted from last year. They came back, and they never flowered last year, so it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Here, this arch, if you watched my videos last year, you know that this is where the loofahs were. And if you can, I don't know if you can see that very well, but I need to straighten up that arch, and I would really like to get more hog panels out here and make a couple of more arches because I think they're very pretty and they're also very useful. So I mentioned just a few minutes ago that I am going to Africa 3 weeks from today. And before I go, I need to make sure that I'm up to date on planting anything that needs to be planted before I go, starting anything that needs to be started. I'm very fortunate that my sweet daughter will water all of my seeds while I'm gone, so that's great. I just feel this anxiety when the growing season starts because it feels like it passes so quickly, which is ridiculous because I know that in Texas we have a very long growing season, but it still just feels like it's over way too soon. But before we go, let's take a look at what's happening at the part of the Nonsense Farm garden that is at my residence. And here I am at my home garden. It's basically all onions, a load of onions. I have one little concern about these. Let me show you. I'm wondering if I might have planted them too close together. It didn't feel like it when I was planting them because they're so small. There you see. It's about a hand apart, so what's that, 4 inches? I don't know. I guess we'll see. So there we are. That's everything that's growing right now. Hopefully, as of my next garden update, I'll try to do one more before I go to Africa, but hopefully it'll just continue to grow and grow, and let's have a really successful garden year.